Good, good. And welcome to the 2023 Southern California Poetry Festival. My name is Ivan. I'm the programs coordinator here at Beyond Baroque. Beyond Baroque has been a home for poets in LA for the last 55 years, ever since George Ray Smith first started an experimental literary magazine, but then opened up a bookstore and took over Venice City Hall with a gang of poets. So beatniks and punks have always been welcome here. Last night, we officially named this theater after LA's forever poet laureate, Wanda Coleman. That is our gift to her legacy. Beyond Baroque was her home, and it still is. We made sure no one ever forgets it. So yeah, it's honestly an honor to be a part of the team that made it happen. Her writing continues to shape the future of poets. Wanda is here with us. It is the month we opened the portal to the ancestors, and she's with us tonight. Shonda, our board president, said that Wanda always spoke fire. And now every poet who steps foot in this theater is expected to speak that fire. And the bar has been raised for everyone. I'm sure our poets tonight are even going to raise that bar even higher. Tonight we're about to experience the second installment of the new series. We have with us two poet laureates as well, Marcelo Hernandez Castillo, laureate of the Yuba and Sutter County, and U.S. Poet Laureate Emeritus, Juan Felipe Herrera. And our third poet, a powerful voice in the U.S., Wallace Stegner Fellow at Stanford University, Sofia Elhilo. Each poet has been commissioned by Beyond Baroque to write something fresh, an original piece of prose or poetry under a theme. Last month's debut of the series featured Christopher Soto, Miriam Gerba, and Danny Snelson writing on the theme Deep Fake. This time around, the prompt for the authors is the human touch. So we'll be hearing an exclusive set just written for the festival and then some. If you want to know more about how you can support the space, you can become a member at Beyond Baroque. You'll be supporting our ongoing slate of programming throughout the year to keep this festival free, and most of our weekend programs, which include gallery exhibitions, workshops, and readings supporting writers across, writers internationally, really. Our memberships start as low as $60, which gives you discounts on workshops, readings, and books. In the bookstore, you'll also find copies of each of our authors tonight. So poets will be doing a brief book signing right after the reading, and we'll close out the second day of the 2023 SoCal Poetry Fest. Tomorrow we have a full slate of programs. You can find the printed schedule right outside the theater. We'll have a bilingual reading starting with Donde Somos Humanos, Somewhere We Are Human, edited by poet Sonia Guiñasca. We'll have Sol Cacique from DC. Then we'll have an after language program with Danny Snelson, curated by Diane Ward. We'll have our poet in residence here, Will Alexander, and also a lot of presses that are supporting poetry and literary magazines from the Tuesday Night Project, Grey Wolf Press, and the Inlandia Institute. So it's Southern California all weekend long. So I hope to see you all here. And we'll also have tacos. So if you all had some, I'm glad you all had a bite to eat. So we'll just get right into it. Our first poet for the new series is Marcelo Hernandez Castillo. Marcelo is the author of Children of the Land, a memoir, Sensontle, which was the winner of the A. Pullen Jr. Prize, and Dulce, winner of the Drinking Gourd Prize. He is a founding member of the Ondocu Poets, which eliminated citizenship requirements from all major poetry book prizes in the U.S. and was recognized with the Barnes & Noble Writers for Writers Award. He was the first undocumented student to graduate from the Helen Zell Writers Program at the University of Michigan. He currently teaches in the Creative Writing Program at St. Mary's University and the Ashland Low-Res MFA program. as well as the poetry workshops for incarcerated youth in Northern California as the Yuba and Sutter County Poet Laureate. Please give a warm welcome to Marcelo.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Oh, yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Just setting my timer. It's truly, truly an honor to be here, be reading with my fellow readers, Juan Felipe, Sofia. I'm so incredibly honored. And to have been working on these notes, these poems, this endeavor from being asked, from when I first was asked. So thank you, Jimmy, and Beyond Baroque for organizing. I have some prefatory notes before. And as I was thinking about touch, about human touch, immediately above my head, I couldn't get away from the idea of we people, we touch everything, we ruin everything we touch. And I couldn't get away from that. And not only that, but how much of my life I've been afraid of touch, I've been afraid of being touched. Sometimes it felt like being an exposed nerve, being touched hurt. And how sometimes we avoid that touchness, that touch, we avoid that nearness. These complicated feelings with touch were over my head as I was remembering facts like how ICE agents were ordered not to touch infants who were separated from their mothers, and how you're not supposed to touch a baby bird unless you risk the mother no longer wanting it, and all of these other ideas of touch. So I'm thinking, what is this role in writing these new poems? What is this role of myself as an artist, as myself as a poet, in the face of unimaginable violence? I think I'm trying to turn on the lights. I think my role is to not look away, especially after the headlines vanish. And so I couldn't not write this poem and not think of the people of Palestine. I'm thinking of how I activate the past in the present, but also combine the distance between the there and the now and the here. The past isn't stagnant. I think poets are time travelers. This invention of a border presupposes another dichotomy. To touch, there cannot be a border. The two cannot exist at the same time. To erase the concept of a border is not to dismiss the violence associated with its maintenance. I think my goal as a poet is to disrupt that maintenance. And I always think of Tony Said Bambara, who said the role of the artist is to make the revolution irresistible. And I think that's my role. This poem is in conversation with Layli Long Soldier's poem 38, in which she says, "Here the sentence will be respected. You may like to know I do not consider this a creative piece. I do not regard this as a poem of great imagination or a work of fiction. Also, historical events will not be dramatized for an interesting read. Therefore, I feel most responsible to the orderly sentence, conveyor of thought." I think that's the only thing you need to know is that there's multiple personas in this poem, weaving in and out, and the audience also shifts. And there's no clear distinction of when the voice is speaking from the voice of Western liberalism, the voice of the poet's gaze, or the personal I. For Palestine, there is no room for misunderstanding, for the luxury of intentional or unintentional misreading. As a stateless migrant for the majority of my life, I do not have the luxury of being overwhelmed. My job, for it is a job, is to document plants and log their curative properties. Sweet fennel, black locust, doveweed, eastern redbud, sweet gum. The human touch, at once both beautiful and terrifying. A finger touches the smallest of buttons, which touches a button, which touches another button, which touches every person in a family of 5. The logic is no longer I cause, I affect, I cause, I affect, but I affect no more than I cause. Or the I nowhere near either the word cause or effect. How the military recruits good gamers who know their way around a joystick. There's circumstances here due to relating distances, removal, access, interest, beyond what words mean anyways. The touch that is not touch, a minor aesthetic, or how in Oklahoma, the team who delivers the lethal injection is behind a curtain in a different room and, quote, cannot be seen by witnesses or the condemned, i.e., cannot be touched. And only when given the order of the warden, who may or may not administer this order through a phone line, i.e., does not want to be touched, and the team who may or may not wear hoods over their faces and who may or may not wear gloves, i.e., don't want to be touched, how they all inject their own needles, i.e., touch the soul of the condemned, but only one of them are the executioner. Only one of them actually administers the lethal dose into the veins, i.e., only one is the one doing the touching. But they will never know who it was in truth had touched. So they can go home and say to themselves, it's okay, it wasn't me. It's okay, I voted for Biden. I.e., distance. And a schemata. If maps minus a border multiplied by breadth divided by weight, then this is a poem of rules. If I'm comfortable, I'm doing this wrong. A preferred language that objects to all forms of witness that make for a noteworthy and pristine illusion and such. Such that Gaza has been called an open-air prison. Such logic assumes a crime has been committed. The previous sentence is passive and might present a minor inconvenience toward a currency of discomfort. In the public imagination, for we have already imagined it, there must be a gold bell. It must behoove you to imagine it ring and the rain that follows. Yes, it rained, and we did nothing about it. The court said there is no need for further explanation. Our time and our nails like blue division, as in departing from a common source, a house inside another house, so we arrive. How can I trust the ancient dramaturgs of Greece who said tragedy plus time equals comedy? How could 6 hummingbirds ever be nailed to a wall at the same time without looking at each other? 3 of the preceding words are in bold italics. I only say this to point out and to enlist the violence of rhetorical thinking, that by its progression, by its argument, arrives to conclude that the words do not point to violence, but are violence incarnate themselves. Like how punctuation marks of a text with unimaginable violence reads, colon, comma, comma, period, colon, 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 period, colon, 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 semicolon, semicolon, period. Like how punctuation marks from Pablo Neruda's Love Sonnet 17 reads, colon, comma, comma, period, colon, 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 period, colon, colon, period, semicolon, colon, colon, comma, period. And text of an unknown origin, colon, question mark, question mark, question mark. We look dutifully for your wound in the single whole of a period. Like art and whatnot, and mastery and whatnot, in a continuous discourse settled by the state per the requirements of funding for the sake of some mimetic defeat, we admit this unbroken vessel of September. That this is not to be an inconvenience, not an ethnography, not a testimony, not a redemption story, not an epiphany, not a laundry list, not a proof to a theorem, a circus of inordinate objects, not tenure track, not cube cheese, not a button on a screen that says save to continue. Tragedy minus time is not the same thing as time minus tragedy. There's shame here, but not how you might imagine it. Black sunflower seeds, evenly placed on a table, the sound of them opening and closing. The Committee on Foreign Affairs stays foreign, i.e., do not touch. The committee exacts the meadow. I felt safe around your opulent regret. Nonetheless, this is a wreckage. The committee declares a trembling, the unbroken vessel of September. In the absence of this bewilderment, stripe after unforgiving stripe. How in one hand the film, in the other, the remedy and its derelict vision. The poet said, real poems do not have words. And I think I believe her. I do believe her. The longest road from which every tree was cut down, and how is it possible that I can say the word cut without my lips ever touching? Cut, cut, cut. How ungodly large and heavy those woods were, the redbud and the dogwood. In biblical times, the dogwood was the tree used to crucify the Son of God. The redbud used by Judas to hang himself in shame. His neck touching the rope, touching the branch, touching the ground, and that touching the ground again. Henceforth both trees so lore says, in their unique guilt, never again grew large enough to hold a body. Their branches henceforth too thin to ever hang from, and their petals no longer white but red in spring. Henceforth named the Judas tree, named as in to know a quantifiable change, change that can be documented, measured, funded, proved, promised. My job is to promise you that cause and effect will touch. My job is to promise you that cause and effect will touch, that the amaranth with its purple blooms will become a febrifuge. In a body, black locust can be used to treat fever, eaten for the tumors that grow in whatever empty space is left inside someone after chemo. Emetic sweet gum used as an analgesic to move the pain inside a mouth in circles until it feels like stirring a large pot of warm broth in winter. Gumbush, yerba santa, we are lovely in the eyes of the state. A tincture and tea from the rosebud bark to stimulate the respiratory system, to treat chronic asthma, or breath minus time is greater than tragedy. Part of this is the only thing I could do recently was look up the curative properties of plants. Something. Henceforth, my job is to imagine a crime absolved by the oils of sweet gums. Sweet gum used as an emmenagogue, carminative, anointed, the hummingbird now no longer turning its head. The court recommends an explanation. We watch everything burn as the state says it should burn. A cold infusion for the common flu and congestion. Mile, white flowers, red flowers, some kind of peppermint. Tragedy plus repetition is greater than permanent lines. Tragedy minus permanence is equal to what? Arum Palestinum, for an open wound. Use it as febrifuge, analgesic, and the scent of almonds. Use this for that. Treat this with that. The restorative power of your life set to a score. Henceforth, cheers from the living room television, cheers from the guards holding their weapons, cheers and screaming and more screaming, more lemon-scented gum, the last bird thrumming like a nervous finger. Let this not be a language only necessary for anger. Because the grant money will be over soon, it will be difficult to imagine, let alone speak about your freedom. I am qualified to talk about this. Trust me, I'm a specialist. My day apportioned to critical thinking. And this is the last part. There was really no section breaks. It was one long piece. So this isn't a break, but just to let you know. My day that is apportioned to critical thinking, in which the word rage is replaced with splendor. How lonely your splendor. The rhyme between splendor and cage. A small anger and a large splendor. No luster quite so eponymous, no pageantry that can outlive us. The limits imposed on our imagination. Somewhere it says forever and forever. I future your grief. I plant the seed and prosper. I touch the oldest tree in existence. I run into a bellflower. I run into a field and clamor of bells. Thank you.
Gracias, Marcelo. Round of applause. Thank you. Palestina vive. Free Palestine. Muchas gracias. Thank you. And yeah, you're always an inspiration. So thank you for sharing that epic poem. Our next poet is Juan Felipe Herrera. Juan Felipe Herrera is the 21st Poet Laureate of the United States and is the first Latino to hold the position. From 2012 to 2014, Herrera served as California's State Poet Laureate. Herrera's many collections of poetry include Every Day We Get More Illegal, Notes on the Assemblage, Senegal Taxi, Half of the World in Light, which was a recipient of the PEN Beyond Margins Award and the National Book Critics Circle Award, and 187 Reasons Mexicanos Can't Cross the Border. He is also the author of Crash Boom Love, a novel in verse, which received the Americas Award, and the forthcoming Halle, California Brown, all the way from Fresno, nuestro amigo Juan Felipe Herrera.
Oh, man. Thank you, Ron. Thank you so much. Thanks, everybody. And Marcelo, I think I was in cosmic space. That was beautiful. That was beautiful. And what was it? It was like reality, breaking into reality, like the sphere of reality and breaking into it. Yeah, it was great. I'm not going to read now, you guys. I want to thank Gloria Vanta, for having me stay at her place, and good time we had. Yes, and a friend. We were just having something to eat a while ago. Gordon. Gordivon? That's turned into all kinds of things now. Gordon, see? Thank you, Gordon. It's great to have new friends, It's great. Thank you. I was really moved by Marcelo's piece, and I realized what writing can do, and thinking can do, and philosophy, and interrogation, and botany, some kind of metaphysical botany. It was amazing. Thank you. It's amazing. Touching. We're all feeling all the violence swimming around, and it's just everywhere. And we see it on television, and it's replayed, and it really gets to us, doesn't it? The wars and the massacres and the beatings of blacks, and it just goes on, and kind of. It's almost incredible where we're at. And I'm glad that we have poetry and Beyond Baroque to bring us some light and some sisterhood and brotherhood and a sense of unity, harmony, and peace, which is what we need. This one's called Holler. I was so moved and so hurt seeing Tyree Nichols getting beat to death on screen. And I'm thinking that one of our roles is to become that person, to become those that we care about, and to become everyone, and to become everything. I think that's where I'm headed these days. Tyree, we become you. We, pummeled, kicked down, asphalt kicked, again choked, chased, tasered, shot, whipped, sprayed again, dragged, policías, with Kevlar, with badge and stripes, with Glock, with thick jackets, glance, once sisters, once brothers, once our brothers, once our sisters, They came forth, they stepped back. Last dance on Castlegate Lane Corner, Memphis, Tennessee. Houses on the block, quiet lawn grasses turn to you, sharpened by the mower. We hold you up. We are here with you, bluish folds of night darkness. Tyree, we become you. Tonight, falling and slide down and cop car door broken, we lift you up. Miles away, we hold you. We are here. Here. You fall to the right. We lean to the right. You lean to the left. You fall to the left. Tyree, gone now. We wipe away your blood. Swollen forehead, chest busted, heart kicked. Tyree, 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 you will not perish. You will not fall again. We carry you through green mist. We bring you home. We wash your splintered, swollen body burst. Inside, we take you to Mama, 1,000 miles out, and millions cry with our voices, with our lives set upon you. You, love is infinite. Gardens blossom, Tyree, with your last breath sounds. Your voice is our voice. We offer you our gathering, our skateboards, rough, painted, torn, sky, brave, colors of street fire. Lost America, this violent America, this cauldron of massacres, shootings and stabbings and bullets, the firing hand, the choking hand, the kicking boot, the taser ring at hand, whipping stick, whipping carving your back as if in slave time, this time gun hands, same hands, so many violent Americas. We become you. We carry you. We write you poems, hit the high G's in the night choir. We carry you home. Wet streets, flaming boulevards. We are calling all trains of freedom. Here we stand now, brave and determined. Saturday morning breakfasts like in 68 and 69. Murals of unity, people's parks, sufferings of history. We remember John Brown. We remember Frederick Douglass. We remember and sing their names. Your name, so many times. We continue, Tyree. Today we carry you. This is our truth now. Corner ground, underground. Each night, flower, a song. Each song, a night candle. Each candle, a poem. Each poem, a night circle. Each circle, a people, all America. We holler, Coltrane, your vastness across this earth. We will plant kindness. We will plant compassion. Take the seeds of friendship and humanity to every house, a love supreme. A giant sequoia rises below the fenders and breaks out of the asphalt its impossible arms and takes account with its impossible eyes. There will be no traffic stops, no batons, no kicking boots, no frenzied tasers, no hungry Glocks, no melancholy ARs, no bear sprays to death, no plantation sticks. We will light and heal all broken bodies. We will be marching together. For those with a gun, a taser, a nightstick, and coiled vestments of power, when one moonbeam on the broken corner was enough. Once we were brothers, sisters. When did violence unfold its volcanic shafts, its tentacles, its coils, and take you? Why did you slash the circle of oneness? Now you leave us bleeding on the edges of all things. Tyree, lead us to our new home, our non-violent America, our true freedom. With you, we will become the infinite circle, the new America, your name, and every sunrise, Winds pass through trees, leaves turn Tyree, doves wait on limbs, earth shakes the earth. This is when we shall holler, Tyree Nichols, presente. True America, America verdadera. That was that poem. The Tyree. Tyree Nichols. Alonzo Bailey, is that right? Do I have the name right? He was running, he got shot, and down he went. What's with us shooting a man, a black man who's running? What on earth is the problem? And he died right there on the street. Alonzo Bailey. That was for Alonzo too. I think that's where I'm at these days, because I get really upset, like we all do. Sometimes we feel helpless, but we have a voice, and we can come together, like right now. We can come together, and we can sing, we can write, we can break ourselves open and express ourselves. I'm also upset. I'm upset all the time. I'm also upset about all the taunting and things being said and violence against LGBTQ trans youth. It's called Pronounce Me. Everybody say, pronounce me. Pronounce me. Pronounce me. That's right. Alone. So I guess what I've done for so long, and I just immediately get into it. I just do and become as best as I can. Alone with my guitar, alone with my turquoise notebook with superheroes climbing over with crazy faces, skinny, and my inky drawing pens. There are 1,000 things splattered on my notebook. Nobody pays attention. Nobody or cares besides it's my notebook. But you would think I'm nuts. You already think I'm nuts. You already think I'm wrong. What are you? You don't even like my pronouns. They, them, my personal words. I feel close to my pronouns. Close. How am I feeling? Close to my pronouns. Them, they, alone. My red guitar, my turquoise notebook, scribbly, cartoons, superheroes, crazy, wacky, spooky faces, buildings, roads, people, zigzagging, soft-lit pencils like in high school, other things in my notebook. But you would think I'm crazy. Crazy. Actually, you do think I'm crazy. You think I'm wrong, all the time. Do you know how it feels to be labeled a wrong human person? So I take off at midnight. No one sees me, knows me, talks to me, cares for me, speaks to me. You take away my books. You ban my books. You ban my teachers from teaching my books. I go there to feel close to things close to me. Do you know how it feels? How that feels? You ever been evicted from the planet? Or are you? Do you know who you are? So I go out at midnight. Tia's car. I know where she keeps the keys. I drive. When no one is awake. No one sees me, no one knows me, but it is me. Burning through a forest of eyes shut It is me and my pronouns, my jacket, my boots, my hair razored, short, midnight me. I am my own Second Amendment. I am the freedom everyone drools about. I melt through streetlights, penciled posters, stapled flyers and turns and twists and breaks, sirens, dark shops with closed signs, neon snakes and unfinished bridges, my old school rage high. And I think of my grandmother's endless plate of quesadillas and toast in the morning and jelly and butter, and she's gone now. She knew me. She knew me. I was not a dirty thing. I was I. My pronouns were my pronouns. I existed. I parked a car not far from my house. A razored hill. See crystalline rings of this endless city. All of its blurring lives. I race the car until it stretches under the moon and screeches and spits dirt and stones to the edge, overlooking the strip on sunset of nervous blinkers and heading to the whiskey and down, down, down there, parlors of nowheres. I am them. I am they. That is all I need to say tonight. I'm almost home. Almost home now. Neighborhood of gray folded houses of papel picado, spliced sharp triangles cut by scissors. You ever heard midnight scream? You don't want to hear it. You don't want to hear it. It screams something like a car crash split into a gazillion faces and shredded pants and icy tears and yanked plants on the sidewalks. Maybe you'll hear my music one day. Maybe you'll see me dancing, facing my tall mirror, where I can be them, where they all are alone. My reflections and songs, cartoons, notes next to the brown sofa where I sleep. I lean on books by Pessoa and Jeffers, Alarcón, Rigo Gonzalez, H. Melt, Robert Frost, and Nat Diaz. Pessoa has 5 souls. From his house of stone, Jeffers listens to the gulls scream. Alarcón is on fire as he speaks of love. Gonzalez writes for they and dresses them at a quinceañera. H. Melt tells the story of the city, my story. Nat Diaz wanders through the Mojave, searching gemstones, magnetite under the Don's Lodge. Frost calls on the thawing southwesters to give the buried flower a dream. I am that flower. I am that dream. I am that fire. I am that scream. Can you pronounce me? I am they in the now. I am them tomorrow. I am the singer. I am thou. Thank you, my dears. Thank you so much.
From Fresno, Juan Felipe Herrera. I think Juan has been here since 1969, I think, in Venice. So welcome back. Just want to say, Therese, Nichols, presente, they presente. It is reading with a very heavy heart that we are experiencing tonight. And to take us home, our third poet, Sofia Elhilo, is a Sudanese by way of Washington, D.C. She is the author of The January Children, which received the Sillerman First Book Prize for African Poets and an Arab American Book Award. Girls That Never Die, which was featured on the indie bestseller list, and a novel in verse, Home is Not a Country. which was longlisted for the National Book Award and received a California Book Award and a Coretta Scott King Books Award author honor. With Fatima Ashkar, she is the co-editor of the anthology Halal If You Hear Me. Her work has been translated into several languages and commissioned by Under Armour, Ilya, Guyana, the Bavarian State Ballet, and now Beyond Baroque. Please welcome Sofia Elhilo.
Thank you, Ivan, and thank you to Beyond Baroque for gathering me in such company. Thank you, Juan. Thank you, Marcelo. It is such an honor to be sharing this space with you, to be in this room with you. In thinking about the human touch, felt myself fixating on the word human. I am a Black person, I am an African, I am a Muslim, I am from the Arabic-speaking world, and mostly what this means is that in the English language, I am rarely, if never, on the business end of the word human, me nor my people. I'm thinking a lot these days about my kin, my comrades, the Palestinian people, and the way that we are witnessing some of the worst atrocities done to humankind unfolding right in front of us, undeniably, and how still we are hearing language meant to dehumanize the people that are being ethnically cleansed, that are having genocide committed against them, that are over 75 years into one of the most unconscionable occupations we will see in our lifetimes, we have seen in our lifetimes and in the lifetimes before. I also, in thinking about the technology that affords us the ability to see these facts plain and uncut and unedited and uneditorialized in front of us, I'm thinking about the war in Sudan and the kinds of silence that have been made possible by the state's ongoing targeting of journalists for generations now, and how Sudan is in the 6th month of a war that has killed maybe, I want to say, close to 10,000 people now, and has displaced over 7 million people, which makes it the largest number of displaced people in the world. And I'm thinking back to the beginning days of the war when I texted my uncle, Shihab, to ask not if they were okay, because obviously not, but mostly I just wanted to know that he was alive. And I texted and I asked how they were doing. And in response, he sent me a voice note. And in that voice note were the sounds of gunfire and shelling around my family home, my childhood home in Khartoum. And one of the first structures to be damaged by this war in Sudan was the airport. And so people then had to gather as much as they were possible, the equivalent of thousands of US dollars, to be able to leave by road to go to the Egyptian border, which meant that those who did not just happen to have the equivalent of thousands of US dollars lying around were not able to leave. When everyone reached the Egyptian border, they were not received as refugees. They were received as tourists, and tourists who are men over the age of 18 and I believe under the age of 60 per Egyptian law. Sudanese tourists who are men over the age of 18 and under the age of 60 have to pay an entry fee for their visa. And so if anyone did not happen to have that fee on hand, they were denied entry. They were denied refuge. Many people, because the Sudanese passport is one of the weakest passports in the world, many people had their passports at embassies, waiting for visas to the US, to Europe, that sort of thing. And the first thing those embassies did was evacuate their foreign staff, leaving behind their Sudanese staff, and leaving behind those passports that people were then unable to access in order to leave the country and arrive at borders in which they were treated not as refugees but as tourists, and therefore required to have the appropriate travel documents. Once all of the local humanitarian NGOs evacuated their expat staff who had been enjoying a life in Khartoum, where as a social playground, essentially, more so than a workplace up until that point. Once those foreign nationals were evacuated, the story all but disappeared from the news. And so I'm thinking a lot about who gets to be human and who gets to be mourned, who gets to be attended to, and then the rest of us. So I will be reading some older poems, and then I'll be closing with my newer poem, with gratitude to Beyond Baroque for the prompt to write the poem, because I am usually not in the habit of writing poems when I'm this angry, but it was a nice way to channel some of this energy that I don't know what to do with. Thank you. This is called Modern Sudanese Poetry. Modern Sudanese Poetry. My husband works his fingers into the knot muscled against my spine, and my dead stay dead. My hair a knotted cursive language, my ligature, my grief barely literate, my amulets knotted around my neck and wrists, my language, cursive and silent, glottal and knotted and scarring the cheeks of my dead, adorning the hair of my dead, tallow in their braided hair. I read the books in translation. Where is the poem? And circle every word I know. Acacia, lupin, sandalwood, and ash. They ululate my dead. They squat like brides over clay pots of smoke, a yoke suspended in each open eye. And some, in truth, are not dead, my dead, and I am who is lost, who is not counted among the living. The poem is not owed me. I was wed in all the colors of my dead, the reddening, the borrowed gold. I wrote the poem in translation. I wrote the poem in the loophole. I wrote the poem in cursive. I snarled it. I picked apart the threads and wove a shroud. I was wed in it. I unfastened. I broke my fast with apricots, furred like the ears of my dead. I looked laterally for ancestors. I descended left and right. I read the book in Arabic, knew each letter and its sound, and did not recognize the words for tallow, for ululate, my dead, my languages, my ligatures, smoke in my loosened hair. How to say, after Aga Shahid Ali. In the divorce, I separate to two piles, books, English, love songs, Arabic, my angers, my schooling, my long repeating name, English, English, Arabic. I am someone's daughter, but I am American born. It shows in my short memory, my ahistoric glamour, my clumsy tongue when I forget the word for. In Arabic, I sleep unbroken dark hours on airplanes home and dream I've missed my connecting flight. I dream a new and fluent mouth full of gauzy swaths of Arabic. I dream my alternate selves, each with a face borrowed from photographs of the girl who became my grandmother, brows and body rounded and cursive like Arabic, but awake to the usual borderlands. I crowd shining slivers of English to my mouth. Iris, crocus, inlet, heron. How dare I love a word without knowing it in Arabic? And what even is translation, is immigration, without irony. Sofia means pure. All my life it's been true, even in my clouded Arabic. Final weeks, 1990. Hours before, the night outside is black as my grandmother's hair. It's newborn moon in Sagittarius. And in the Maryland house, my mother is 23 behind a winning hand of cards as the water darkens the length of her skirt. December now, and friends still call her Al-Arus, the bride, 11 months married, and the shock of it not yet settled behind her eyes. Morning, and the baby has not come. Milky winter sun in Sagittarius. I should mention there was a husband, 27. I can hardly imagine it, a boy that age, my father. I cannot picture him in the room, though his work for years to come will absorb him into countries that smell of blood. Maybe he is in the room now, not yet a specter. I sketch him in, but do not know where to put him. Maybe in the corner, back rigid against the white wall. I cannot imagine them ever touching. I smudge him out, correct the still wet scene. He is outside, long-limbed in a hard plastic chair. My mother called him Jack, and this is my only proof they were in love. My mother is almost my mother now, darker color of the noontime sun. In the waiting room, I should also place my grandparents, elegant in that old over-formal way of immigrants. My grandfather's shirt never without a collar, lush neatness of the afro against his head. My grandmother could pass for a film star, hair black and feathered down her back, any suggestion of curl or coil since burnt away and set every morning in hot rollers. Her eyebrows tattooed as they have been all my life, blue-black parentheses. Both of them older than the independent state of the Sudan. My grandmother 13 years its senior. My grandfather, a January child of unknown birthday, though the colonial offices record it as 26 years before his country is born. They are placid companions, their courtship cooled amicably into a sort of siblinghood, and I have never seen them touch, so I cannot imagine it now. He paces the cool length of the hallway. 1 hour and 39 minutes past noon, that final diluvian push, and I am outside, full head of wet hair, pomegranate creature calling that little animal sound, pronounced a girl and named for a dead great aunt, the birth certificate dated and signed in ink. Back home, I would have been known by my first two names, mine and my father's, Sofia Yaqub, the surname rarely used, but in the new country, the paper demands a patronym. Anglicized, the L becomes a looser L. Elhilo, meaning sweet, strange, unserious allonym of that first great-grandfather, and crowded together on a single line, marked first name, our names, mine and his, Sofia Yaqub, little echo of that forgotten epithet, that once loved man, of Jack. And though I am not named for my mother, we match, Safa, noun form of my adjective, our shared first syllable, closest I have ever seen them, him and her, almost touching. From my friends, in reply to a question, this is after David Ignatow. For my friends, in reply to a question, I'm okay. And of course, I'm not, but I go through the motions. I wake up to the alarm's howl, even when the word in my body is no. I dress in livid colors. I blacken the hairs of each eyebrow. I bake and braise and pickle. I write and read and lose hours to the blur of the television. I sit for hours in the bath, my skin puckering. I don't know if I'll ever go home again. I don't know who I've seen for the last time. The Arabic comes back to me in streaks of paint, verb forms and vocabularies I may never again have occasion to use. My days smudge into one another, and it's not that I am afraid. It's as if I am watching it all happen below, and I am somewhere above the room, wondering if the rice is burning. I am somewhere above the room, watching my new aches, watching the news as if I am reading it in a novel. I look up the names of people I knew in childhood, learn their new and angular faces, their faraway lives. My grandfather pixelates into a smile, and I work my creaking muscles to replicate it. I do not ask if we will ever meet again. I do not ask him to read to me, or for anything that will make me long. I dull it with sugar and oil, with cooking shows, with sleep. I sleep 12 hours each night, and in my dreams I am fleeing a war. In my dreams I am touching the faces of my friends. We are each one of us touching, and even in the dream we are afraid. The lyrics do not translate. Arabic is all verbs for what stays still in other languages. Tasbah, to morning, what the translation to awake cannot honor, cannot contain its rhyme with tasbah, to swim, to make the night a body of water. I am here now, and I am not buoyant. I am 32 and always sick, small for my age and always translating. I cannot sleep through the night. No language has given me the rhyme between ocean and wound that I know to be true. Sometimes, when the doctors draw my blood, I feel the word at the edge of my tongue. Halim sings, aghraq, aghraq. I am drowning, I am drowning. The single word for all the water in his throat does not translate. Halim sings, teach me to kill the tear in its duct. Halim sings, I have no experience in love, nor have I a boat, and I know he cannot rest, cannot swim through the night. I am looking for a voice with a wound in it, a man who could only have died by a form of drowning. Let the song take its time. Let the ocean close back up. And to close, this is my new poem, my commissioned poem, and it's called On Cruelty. Who was it that said, all men are half angel, half animal? I know only that it was not me nor mine. All of us eulogized as no angel, referred to when alive as animals, human animals, bodies ineligible for defensible grief and bleeding into our gone lands as if it were the natural order of things. And here, in my animal kingdom, my animal body darkens in the light, grays in the dry desert air, splits in the open heat, and I am who made out alive, a world away from the bullets, slanting in through broken shutters like terrible sunlight, their path toward the bodies of my loved ones, interrupted by my grandfather's bookshelves, moved to cover the ruined windows. I repeat this image every time I mention the war, knowing now what I know about the bodies it has taken, anonymized into numbers so enormous they glaze the eye. So enormous, and still they cannot manage to invite care. So instead I say, the books, my grandfather's hundreds of books, ruined by gunfire. And because he was a poet, this is understood to be great loss. So I say it, great loss, and everyone is sorry. The few photographs emerging show rows of unburied dead, humans scattered in the street like dead animals, and not at all like dead animals. Humans who have died, and humans who have killed them. In this terrible kingdom of men, the great halls of its cruelty, how will I invite your attention, your care? Here, a world away, with my body sealed shut by this safety, this most enormous distance, how to explain that it was my home, that gone house, other than to repeat in every telling that I learned as a child to pray on those floors, those my first prostrations. Maybe I could be cruel, could turn away, here in the sunlight, protected by this cruelest and most merciful geography. I could point here, say human, point there, and say animal. But I come from a world much older than this, centuries of collective nouns, an incantation of mothers, a delirium of language, a diaspora of poets, hoarders of gone places, a murder of possibilities. Darwish said, "What will I write without exile?" And I think if ever this war ends, I would willingly give it up. Every moment I spend alone with language, instead of gathering with my loved ones in our house, admiring the peach color of the walls, kissing their faces and hands. Sontag wrote that eloquence is a byproduct of solitude, and that people living in groups, families, communes, say little, have few verbal means. Give me back my family of silences, my country of touch. Give me back my dead, our bombed street, my grandfather's desk inlaid with mother of pearl. This time, I'll keep quiet. This time, I'll hold it close. Thank you.
Give it up for Sofia Elhilo. Thank you. Muchísimas gracias. Marcelo, Juan, thank you all so much. Yeah. After hearing each of your pieces, I just think that I just want to imagine a future where human touch is not violent, where we don't have to be grieving every day. As Juan said, we can come together now, and the power of the word is liberating. So I think using it to say something, to stand up for life, for human life, is what we need. So just want to thank you all for channeling everything that you've all been feeling and sharing the space with us. Really an immense thank you. And for this space with the audience, huge shout out to our team, Beyond Baroque, from our directors, Quentin, Jimmy, Michelle, Raphael, and our bookstore team, interns, Genesis Perez and Nick Foreman, and our tech master, Eric Alberg. Thank you all for being here, for sharing the space with us for the 2023 Southern California Poetry Festival. And yeah, feel free to hang out for a while. We're still open. There's books in the bookstore. Get yourself some knowledge, support our authors, educate, and share it with the world. Gracias.